So before we dive in to conducting open source intelligence on digital images, photos, etc., let's take a look at where these skills are used both in the private sector in cybersecurity as well as in law enforcement. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but I would encourage you to pause the video and just go ahead and read it. So as we look at the private sector, I'm going to look at number 2, intellectual property theft. And companies may use or perform OSINT on photos to investigate the illegal sharing of proprietary and copyrighted material. All right. So an example of this might be companies getting photos of their products off the web, publicly available, right, to find out that their products have been counterfeited, for example. So they would go ahead and start a legal process around finding those counterfeit products, maybe figuring out who bought them, who purchased them, etc., right? We've got social media monitoring threats that are covered, background checks. From a law enforcement standpoint, it may be conducting OSINT on photos to locate missing persons, investigate criminal activities, counterterrorism and national security, as well as cyberbullying and online investigations. So in both of these sectors, the ethical use of OSINT on photos must balance the privacy rights of individuals with the larger responsibility to prevent harm, protect assets, and enforce laws. Transparency, accountability, and adherence to legal guidelines such as GDPR and CCPA help ensure these activities remain ethical. All right, so now that we've covered all of that, let's dive right in to the process of OSINT as it pertains to photographs. So sometimes conducting OSINT is pretty darn easy, and what I mean by that is we're looking at this photo here, you're seeing the full photo, and as I zoom in a little bit, we're going to see that I've got some pretty easy information that's given through this photo. I have a business name here. I've got an address. I want to figure out the location of where this photo was taken. Okay, so simply put, all I have to do is take this 3120 and Polish Homes and simply stick it into Google. So let's go ahead and do that. So I go ahead and type that in, I simply hit enter, and I start to find some information. And right off the bat, there is Polish Homes. So I can click on that. And you'll notice that I get a bunch of their developments within Bend, Oregon. So interestingly enough, if I go back real quick and look at the photo, I can see this roof line, I can see what kind of tiles are on the roof, what's around it, etc. Come back to our Google, and I can see that there's some similar roof lines here. Notice the pitching here is a little bit more pitched, but this looks like it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and start looking around at these photos. So I notice that there's a photo gallery here. I'll just start going through the photos real quick. And I get to this one here, and I start to realize this is probably the place because I can see this road, I can see this building, and in fact, it looks like this building. So just with a little bit more, I could be 100% sure that this is the location. Now, just for a little side trip on this, when I took these photos this morning, I'm going to show you another photo here. I thought that I was going to be able to easily zoom in and look at this content right here. And if you notice, this content is being blurred out or changed so that it's not identifiable, right? So Google is actually putting forth some AI to change this basically for, privacy, which is a great thing, except in my case, I needed these to be this, this way. Now, what was interesting is on my phone, the actual photo was clear. I could read all this data, but as soon as I transferred that file via Gmail or transferred it away from my phone, I even tried with a cable directly into my computer, it went ahead and did that. So just kind of an interesting side note as to our discovery here of photos. Now, sometimes, you just get lucky. And what I mean, I'm doing this in a certain order for a reason, but sometimes you get an image, and I'm going to call up another image for us. you get an image like this that is really going to be difficult to identify. There's no mountain ranges in the back. It's a standard stop sign. It's on a pole. But I start to see some unique stuff going on back here. But how might I get the information? Well, the fact is, the first place you really want to start, if you have it available to you, is the properties of the photo. Okay. Now, simply what I did was right click, because I've got this photo on my desktop. I right clicked. I'm going to go to details. And as you can see here, I get a lot of details about the photo. Okay. And the big details I get here are the longitude and the latitude. And just a reminder, you know, personal cybersecurity, you should turn these features off. I purposely had them on when I took these photos. Now, what can I do with that information? Well, actually, it's easier than ever to find that location. And since I don't know how Google Maps, which is where we're going next, wants this information, I just went out to ChatGPT and said, please format the following latitude and longitude so I can use Google Maps to find the location. So I gave it that data. Let me bring that back over. I gave it that data from the metadata from the photo. Okay, not all of it, but most of it. And then I simply say enter. Now, actually new to me, because I knew you could put in a longitude and latitude, but one of the challenges is, you know, getting the format right with the degrees and the minutes and the seconds and all that good stuff. Well, here it takes all of that out and creates this. So I'm simply going to copy what it calls code. I'm going to jump into Google Maps here, and I'm simply going to paste in that information and run a quick search. And wouldn't you know it, it puts me right here at the corner of Petrosa Avenue and Northeast Petrosa Avenue, basically. Kind of interesting that these are both showing. But you'll see this empty field here. You see this power box here. What do you want to bet that over here is the stop sign? So let's call back up that image here real quick. There we are. There is our open area. There is our electrical box. And here is our stop sign. Now, it doesn't look like this is a fairly new development, and it doesn't look like by clicking right here on Street View that the, you know, Google car with all the cameras has been around, and that's perfectly fine. But we could end up with the Street View literally showing us our exact location for our stop sign. Now, let's also take a look at some online tools. We're going to look at this tool here, okay, that is an EXIF metadata viewer. And you might be asking, what is that? Well, EXIF, or Exchangeable Image File Format, is a standard used to store metadata in digital images, right? Taken on cameras, smartphones, other imaging devices. So it's got camera settings, it's got device information, date and time, geolocation data, again, if it's turned on, you know, and sometimes orientation. So if we take that same image, the properties of that image, and I'll just go ahead and drag that image over here. It's a simple drag and drop. It's going to go ahead and process it and give us the information in regards to the image. So I could get more information from this site than I may be able to deduce from the properties. You can see I've got some image sizes here, file sizes. I go down, look how easy this is. Here is a map, and in fact, it puts me in the same location that Google Maps did. We can even get a bunch more information. Notice this was taken on a Google Pixel 7, you know, the focal length, everything else, and then of course the full metadata down here that you could pause this video and go through. So a lot more information contained in this photo. Now, luckily, a lot of the social media sites, and as you can see, I am on Facebook, and I took that same image that we had and I posted it to Facebook. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to see what metadata was removed from the photo, if any. right? How am I protected by Facebook in this case? So if you notice, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save the image, and I'm going to save it out to this downloads folder. So this is going to be a separate image that's in the downloads folder. So now let's go ahead and open up that image, and we'll take a look at the properties for this image and see what all is there. Now remember, before, the image that was on my desktop had a bunch of information, and as you can see here, well, we've got some dimensions. It reduced the quality, the overall resolution of the picture. It's taken out a lot of the information that is there. Now, just to make sure, let's go ahead and put this into that other tool and see what EXIF data is available. So we'll go ahead, we'll run this in there. And you remember all of the information we saw previously. Well, now this is what we're seeing. We're seeing very little information. And again, very little information in all of the data. Okay. So as I uploaded this picture is my assumption. Should I assume that? Probably not. Is Facebook taking that metadata that I gave it and using it? Probably, but the cool thing is when I right click and save the picture back down to my computer, that data is not coming in. Now, other tools that can be used are like online image searches. So let me give you an example of that real quick. I'll call this back up. We're going to go ahead and go into Google. And if you notice right here, there's a search by image. So I'm going to click search by image, and I'm going to drag over an image, this image right here, that I want to quickly figure out where it is. And if you notice, it really has no clear identifiable information. It's not like I'm in a pub and it's a picture of somebody with a glass that might be etched with information about the bar, for example. I don't see anything else. I do see this unique structure here, but I see a American flag, right? And that there's a general store in there. Well, what I'll do is I'll just quickly drag that image over, put that image in here, and we'll see what we get. Now, of course, I end up getting a bunch of American flags because that looks to be the primary source or the primary object within the picture. Now, what's interesting is if I just take it down to there, let me get rid of the flag and let's see what it produces. Well, it starts producing some things that look very similar to my image. However, let's go ahead and do a little bit more focus. I imagine, general store, I mean, how unique is that? I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to crop it a little bit more and see what we get. And in fact, I get something that looks really familiar. So, matter of fact, I get a lot of things that look familiar. So I go ahead, I click on that. It opens up the website that this is on. It looks like this is a real estate site. And, I can go ahead and view the images. And lo and behold, as I'm looking at the images related to this real estate property for sale, there is my general store. Now I can see some things have moved around, but most likely that is in fact my general store. So then just to make sure, I'll click on another image. Let's see what Coeur d'Alene Living has to say. So Coeur d'Alene Living has to say a perfect fall getaway. And in fact, here we are. We're Brasada Ranch. We're in Central Oregon. And I can see that the background, the landscape, seems to be similar. So at this point, I can pretty much ascertain that this is in fact where my photo was taken. Now also, if we come back to image search with Google, I can click on find image source and it's going to go ahead and search the web. And you can see, again, right, this was a personal picture. I didn't post it to the web, so it's not found on the web. But let's go ahead and do another picture. Now, let me be clear. A lot of these image search tools will not do people, okay? However, as some of you may know, there's this thing called catfishing where people create accounts with images and, you know, try to lure you into a romantic relationship so that you'll send money, so that you'll support them, whatever the case may be. And so what we're going to go ahead and do is use this photo example that I downloaded from the web by Googling male catfish profile fake, okay, or something like that. So we've got this image. I'm going to go ahead and drag that over and see what we get. And suddenly, right away, I know, well, you know, this looks kind of weird, right? I've got this. I've got a Facebook, I've got some YouTube. Now, this could be a legitimate person. So, of course, what I would do is go ahead and click on these things. Wow, even on TikTok. So I, you know, can click on these things. I can get to sites. I can look again. It might be a person who is publicly available. But in this case, I happen to know that this is a catfish where many accounts are using this picture to catfish. Now for this last part, I'm going to use a pretty simple image. Literally one search is going to take us there. But what's interesting is sometimes I don't even need to leave the operating system of my computer. I am in Windows 11, right? And I have this photo tool here. I can come up here with that photo open and simply say visual search with Bing. So this time I'm going to use Bing. I'm going to do a visual search, and there we are. There is that sculpture in front of Meow Wolf in Santa Fe. So notice that, again, I don't necessarily have to leave my computer. Now, other things you might want to look at in images, especially like this image, and I won't show the particular license plate, is the license plate of vehicles. It might give you the state. Now, in this case, this is a popular place, so there might be many different states, but it certainly can limit that. I can look for signs from businesses. I can look for billboards on the side of vehicles, etc. Stickers that may represent a business, stickers that may represent locations, etc., to get the information to really dive into the exact location of the picture. So again, I hope this was informative, helps you do some OSINT, practice on pictures that are yours, make sure you're helping others, turn off those location identifications within pictures. That's really the first thing you can do. Cybersecurity starts with personal safety and extends into the business. Take care, and we'll see you next time. This video explored cybersecurity practices and investigations such as penetration testing and open source intelligence. Conducting these activities responsibly, with proper authorization, and strictly for legal and educational purposes is crucial. Unethical use of these tools can lead to privacy violations and legal consequences. This content is provided solely for educational purposes to help individuals and businesses protect themselves from threats, understand the tools used in cybersecurity, and the ethical standards that must be upheld.